Donald Trump's call after the 2020 election with Brad Raffensperger in Georgia was super clear. He wanted him to find just enough votes that he wins. He was asking an election official to overturn the results of the election. It is clear, I feel it's indisputable, and I think most reasonable people agree. However, Trump's legal team is not filled with reasonable people, and they have some unreasonable ideas of how they can get him out of any legal consequences for this. This is wild. But here's what they want to do. One of the lawyers is Drew Findling, who apparently built a career representing the biggest names in hip hop, like Cardi B, Migos, and Gucci Mane, argues there's a link between prosecutors' controversial use of rap lyrics to buttress criminal charges against hip hop stars and Trump's call with Brad Raffensperger. Now, are you following me yet? You're probably not, because we're in crazy town. But what he's saying is that you can't just pluck out a quote in the same way you can't pluck out a lyric from a rap song. You have to understand the full context. So he goes on to say, when we look at the full context, that's when we realize there's no criminal case. And that's one of the reasons that we jumped into this case when asked to. That and also the money, crazy, stupid money that, bear in mind, probably won't be paid to them. This is Trump after all, but I bet he made promises of a lot of money. Anyway, the quote in question, the biggest money quote, is when Trump said, so look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have because we won the state. And Findling says you can't focus on that. You need to look at the full call in its totality. Prosecutors, first of all, don't know the first thing about lyrics. He's still talking about lyrics. They'll take out 8 or 9 words. They'll take out something that lasts a few seconds and say, aha, this is evidence of some wrongdoing. In like fashion, no one ever talks about the full 62 minutes. No one ever talks about the surrounding circumstances of those 62 minutes of the phone call. JR, is this rap lyric defense going to save Trump's bacon?
I mean, honestly, we're at the point now that anything saves Trump's bacon because they won't finish going after him. But I mean, this is an attempt, right? And it's one of those things. It's the irony, of course, in this is that Trump will probably quickly throw any hip hop artist under the bus or claim that they're thugs and violent criminals and espouse dangerous things, and society is on the downfall because of it. We know conservatives like to say that. So I'm sure he would say he'd be on those same types of points. But when it comes to saving his own ass, then it comes to, hey, let me use that defense that this one attorney uses when it comes to those thugs and people who throw this horrible, violent discourse into our society. So he's okay doing that when it comes to saving himself, but of course not when it comes to even talking about the context of anything anyone's saying for entertainment purposes. By the way, this is a guy that's on a private phone call. I guess maybe he doesn't realize that he's talking to the Secretary of State down there, and that maybe this guy might point out or at one point testify about what the context of those calls were. Maybe Raffensperger, who was on the other side of that phone call, just doesn't know the implications of it or doesn't know the full context. He was only there and listening to it. He's only the one who was threatened or told, hey, maybe you should do this. Maybe they'll ask Zelensky next when he threatened him about the quid pro quo that he was involved with him. Oh yeah, it was just a rap lyric. It was just one moment in this long call. I'm sure they'll say that too. I'm not sure if it'll work, but at this point, things always work that shouldn't when it comes to protecting and saving the worst people in our country, like this guy. So I mean, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, he was only threatened, and his wife was threatened with rape and murder and all that. What does he know? By the way, I don't want to spoil this novel defense by pointing out that who has read the transcript for the full call? This guy. I have too much time on my hands and not enough self-respect. You know what the context of that call provides? A whole lot more of what's in that quote. It isn't necessarily as individually explicit as those 13 or so words, but he constantly talks about that exact number of votes. He constantly says we need to find the votes. The context doesn't make it look better, Findling. It makes it look worse. Anyway, by the way, just for context, we'll see. Again, context, because I value context like Findling does. In August, in reference to charges against rapper Young Thug, Fulton County DA Fani Willis told a press conference, I think if you decide to admit your crimes over a beat, I'm gonna use it. I have some legal advice. Don't confess to crime on rap lyrics if you do not want them used, or at least get out of my county. So the DA apparently doesn't buy the whole rap lyric context thing. Anyway,
and that has happened, I'm sure.
Exactly. Trump has responded to these sorts of claims many times in the past, pointing out that his call was perfect. I guess he means when you consider the context.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.